Hello, I am Michele Leclaire, Exhibition Director at Buckham Gallery. Today, I am joined by AJ Cooke, whose work we are currently showing at Buckham. AJ's mixed media and digital paintings will be on view in the gallery with dear memory through October 3rd. We are also hosting an online viewing room on our website. First, I would like to thank the individuals and organizations who support Buckham Gallery, including the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation, Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs, and the National Endowment for the Arts. Flint Arts Council Share Art Genesee Grant Program made possible by Genesee County Arts Education and Cultural Enrichment Village Funds, your tax dollars at work. So an introduction for focusing on cognitive biology and design language. AJ Cooke's work explores human epistemology and the contradiction of individual perception within a functioning organized construct by creating visual systems of personal and communal meeting. Cooke earned her MFA from the Kendall College of Art and Design at Ferris State University and currently lives in the Metro Detroit area. Welcome, AJ.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this and coming in and talking to me this morning.
Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
All right, so this is really a great show. The large and the bright colors, and it looks great in the gallery. Thank you. Okay, so Dear Memory is 3 concurrent exhibitions, each exploring nostalgia through place or experience on personal and universal levels. Your body of work is subtitled Fragmented Place. Can you explain your choice and title and the importance of place?
Sure. So place to me is a person's individual identity that's fueled by everything that made up that person. So it could be childhood experiences, location, all the emotional, mental memories they have to kind of build up and make us who we are today. It's also a specific time. For instance, where we are right now, or this conversation we're having right now, will never happen again, and we'll never be the same people that we are as we are in this moment. So 10 minutes from now, we're going to be different based off this experience. So that's what place means to me, and it's the show titled, exhibition title, Fragmented Place, was in reference to taking these old memories in tangible form, so these childhood or family portraits or photographs, and revisiting them, knowing that they're never, whatever I see or whatever I make out of them today is never going to be what they actually were supposed to represent.
Right. Oh, wonderful. Okay, and so when you are revisiting these, you are taking your sort of this language of design. So can you tell me more about your background and what draws you to the language of design as a way to reinterpret these personal photographs or these moments in place, in time?
So I have an art background. I'm an artist. I have a bachelor's and a master's in fine art. I was also an art educator at one point. I see design everywhere. Everything man-made is designed in some way, shape, or form. But personally, I see the world in color, shape, and form, and line. That's just how I see things. So it's easy for me to visually break things, visual things apart into that type of what I call design language, which it's just, I guess it's fueled by my experience, but it's just the way my brain works.
Mm-hmm. So what draws you to a certain photograph or experience of place?
Definitely just what I see in the photograph. So the memory that what I remember from either that person or that experience. It's definitely personal. Mm-hmm. That's what grabs my attention, is I remember being in that photograph or having that photograph taken, or I remember that person in that place. Or sometimes the photographs don't even involve me. I wasn't even born yet. There's a couple that are before my time in my family, but I know the photograph through family narratives. I've been shown the photograph before many times, and I've been explained who these people are and the stories behind them. And so now they are a part of my memory. So that photograph is a representation of the new memory I made. It's kind of like twice or 3 times removed.
Yeah.
Now it is my memory. And so I'm reflecting on what I remember from that point in my life, because that point or that place where I was is now changed. And I'm trying to understand how I grew from there and how I evolved and what does that memory mean to me now.
When you choose to revisit an image or memory, are you choosing these certain images and moments in time to reconnect with those places or individuals, to contemplate further that moment?
Yeah, so originally I wasn't looking to include so much of the personal in my work. It was a lot of my previous work, and it still continues into this collection, this exhibition, is a lot of design language, a lot of modular breaking up of systems, and that's purposeful to try to understand the universal versus the personal in humanity. So what I'm essentially interested in is how we as people are all completely individual in every way, yet we can communicate and we can work together and we can be a part of some sort of a communal society. Like we function somehow within all this chaos, and I don't understand how. So that's my essential question that I'm always placing at the forefront of my artwork. And how I chose to explore that was through the language of design, because I think that visual language is something that is universal, and it doesn't matter where you are. As long as you can see visual language, you can identify something culturally or personally with it, and it connects us. So that's why I referenced before design language of color, shape, form, and line. These things are important to my work. So originally I was focusing on that language specifically and leaving out the human form. And it was more minimal and abstract. It still is. I definitely simplify photographs on purpose. But the systems evolved to, instead of only displaying my personal choices of that design language, I chose to maybe add a little bit more of my personal memory or experience into it with these photographs, because people identify with the human form more than I shouldn't say just, but more than something more abstract and minimal generally. So I was noticing people were connecting more with the work when there was a human form involved in it. And I have a personal expression. I have more of a personal connection to it because it is part of my life. And it's not just the choices that I'm making right now that are personal. This actually represented some point in my life. So it's a tangible object of my memory, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So when I experience your work in the gallery, I am struck by the scale. Your photographs are enlarged from like a general photograph, 4x6 inches scale. And for the acrylic transfers are mounted on larger canvases and then physically manipulated with paint materials and pattern. What is the importance of scale?
Yeah, so that evolved directly from the previous question, where I started off with this more abstract or systematic way of painting and drawing that did not have human form. And then I added the human figure with these photographs into it, and I was kind of experimenting at this stage. So I took these small family photographs. Some of them are like school portrait wallet size images, and I enlarged them so that that image became the focus of the artwork. I also enlarged them at this point because I wanted to distort them. I didn't want, it's not about the person in that photograph. It's selfishly completely about me.
Yeah, no, it should be.
It's all about my experience with that person or with that memory or place and point in time, and trying to understand how that shaped me as an individual, and therefore trying to understand human epistemology. And trying to understand how we think as humans.
So in the mixed media paintings and many of the digital paintings, you cover the faces. Is this to remove the personal and touch the universal, or is it still important that you are representing the essence of those in the photographs?
Okay, so this is where me enlarging the scale of the photographs comes in play, where I'm distorting the photographs to get rid of the personal of that individual. I don't want any details there. These enlargements and this distortion was purposeful because it, as we previously discussed, it's about my choices and not about this person or this place at all individually, but it's more about my experience with them, my memory with them, or what I'm recollecting as my memory, and how my current place in the world changed that memory. So the faces are blanked out for that reason. It also, as you mentioned universal. It's to display the fact that individually we're all a collective, really, humanity. So I want to see people. I want people to see themselves or their experiences within this language of design or these compositions, and not think of it as a narrative of just AJ Cooke, because that's not what they're about. They're more about how we think and how we express ourselves.
Did the works of interior spaces evolve separately from or grow out of the works based on the personal photographs? I'm assuming these are personal locations, places where to you, but could you tell us more about these places and how they relate?
Yep, so just as my previous work was more systematic and minimal, and then I moved on to the personal family photographs that had human form, I took that and evolved into the current. So instead of using past family photographs, these are present photographs that I took and manipulated with mixed media. Excuse me. The settings are a kitchen, a living room, and a bedroom. These are the locations that I live my life in, and these are how I'm cognitively and emotionally responding to these places at this time. And they're fragmented with design language, with other photographs and manipulations and abstractions, because I'm breaking down the image with shape, color, and form. Because that's how I see them. If you give me an image, I'm breaking that down in my head. I'm morphing everything into generic shapes of color, and I guess that's why I guess that's why I'm a painter, is because that's what I do. I look at the base color and form of objects, and that's what I see. And so it's a personal choice. It's subjective, but it's also quite objective when it comes to the design language. I'm looking at what works, what information in this photograph is actually important, and then what's not. And so I'm going to mask that with a manipulation that is currently important to me. So all the mark making is an expression, and that is more important than what was on the wall in the photograph.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting too. All the other pieces, the figurative pieces there, well, okay, not all of them, but their titles of like sketch number 1, sketch number 2, or study, and these actually are kitchen, living room, bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And are these newer works? And
yes, in the exhibition currently, these are the 3 newest.
Mm-hmm. So what's next? Where do you go from here? Are you moving? Do you know what direction? Are you have new works going? Are you?
Yes, always working.
Yeah.
You should, Michelle, you should know that you're always working.
Always.
It's sometimes too many ideas, but there's always, as an artist, you're always working on something, right? Whether it be you're in your studio or just sketching, or you just have an idea and it's just sitting in your brain for a long time and trying to get out. But the next line of paintings I have planned are going to be directly related to the last three that you just shown, the interior spaces. So they're going to be newer photographs manipulated in the same type of way with mixed media.
Nice. That's exciting. Well, I look forward to seeing them. And this is totally off. This is mostly personal curiosity, real quick. Your website really has just the like grid design, color-based works. Are those older and it's just not updated, or do you not? I mean, consider this separately, or
no? I haven't added these yet, but it was a pretty drastic jump for me from that, because that's my artwork, and that's what was my thesis based on for my MFA, and I believe in that work, and it's definitely shown in this work as well. Just not to that scale, but I haven't added these new pieces to it. I created all these in the last 2 years. I haven't added them to the website yet because I wasn't sure how I felt about them. This is the only second time that I've shown them. I've only had one small pop-up before with about half the works that are currently at Buckham Gallery. And I decided to continue with this process of using the human form and see how it goes. But to me, it's because I'm using personal photographs, and I wasn't sure how I felt about that. Because I'm a pretty private person, and I'm an introvert. So talking about it is or letting people see that intimate part of my life on a public scale is hard. But I kind of took it as a point of growth. So
yeah, well, I have to say, we've had some visitors in the gallery, of course.
Oh, good.
And people definitely are responding. Behind me, barrettes. People are like, "Oh, everyone's got that picture. That's a memory. Everyone has that memory of the little girl, the head down on the table, and like toy telephone, and it's kind of fun. People are coming in and responding to those moments, And they're not asking questions about you personally. they are able to relate.
Yeah, I don't think people actually. No, I don't think that's happening. But I'm glad that people can relate. And I know I don't know. I guess the goal is for no matter who we are to be able to relate to like the human condition, right? But I understand so the reason why I never really one of the reasons why I never put human form in my work prior was because I am a very particular person like everyone else. So I am middle class, white, female, and we are visual people, and we see that and we relate or we don't. And so, you know what I mean? Like there's certain restrictions when you see a person's skin color, or when you see their gender and or their sex or the way they dress, and now we make these judgments, and we can not relate to it or relate to it, depending on how open our mind is. But that's one of the reasons why I never wanted to introduce my form at all. I used to, and then I took it out. But that was for a completely different. I used to use my form in my artwork for more of a feminist perspective, and then I took it out because I felt like it's been done, and let's move on. And I wasn't adding anything new to it really. And now I'm putting these forms back in because I'm using what I have. I'm using these photographs because that's what I have. These are basically the photographs that I manipulated and reprinted and painted upon. I only have like maybe 10 more. These are all my family photos. Oh. Yeah. So they were precious to me in that regard, but then also not having that type of connection with my childhood made it I have friends who have like tons of photos and like all these mementos from childhood and whatnot, and I don't have that. So I can argue these are precious to me because they're so rare, or they're not precious to me because I didn't ever needed them before, so why do I need them now? Type. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of emotional baggage that goes along with bringing in like your form or like or other people's form into the artwork, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's great answer. Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, AJ, thank you so much for joining me today in the gallery and for sharing your work with us here in Flint, Michigan, and with our audience.
Anytime. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.